Back, students. At this time, we are looking at the structure and functions of fat. In the previous lesson, we looked at the structure and functions of carbohydrates, and now we are looking at the structure and functions of fat, and we are starting right away. Now, before I go to functions and the structures of fat, I need to start with the definition of what fat means. What does it mean when we talk about fat? So that is where we are going to start from at this time. Macromolecules are large molecules or polymers that have specific biological, divisional, and molecular roles in the organisms that contain them. Macromolecular nutrients are the building blocks of the human diet. This is where the term counting one's macros come from. These polymers are constructed from repeating units of monomers or smaller molecules. Lipids are a class of macromolecules or polymers, of which fats are a subgroup. Fats and glycerol are the monomers that combine to form lipids. The monomers of lipids and lipids themselves are all made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, which I write as CHO when we talk about carbohydrates. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, they are basically part and parcel of the building blocks of life. There are a variety of roles that fats play in the human body and in cells. Also, different types of fats are made up of various fatty acids, and these fats can be further subdivided into distinct classes. The structure of fats. The structure of fat is what I am going to be discussing with you at this time. The lipid macromolecule can take on a number of different structures. Triglycerides are a class of lipids. The prefix tri means tree, and glyceride is derived from glycerol, so that the term triglyceride refers to fats. The basic structure of fat, called a triglyceride, consists of 3 fatty acid chains bonded to glycerol. There are many different kinds of glyceride molecules because of There are many different kinds of triglyceride molecules because of the different kinds of fatty acid chains that can be bonded to glycerol. Palmitic acid is a saturated fatty acid, and its molecular structure is depicted here as a ball and stick. One of the building blocks of fat molecules are fatty acid. Here we have another structure. This is a structure of glycerol. Glycerol, a monomer, is also present in fats. Pay attention to the 3 carboxyl groups, so named because they contain 3 fatty acids. Triglycerides describe a class of fats. Structure of fat molecules. Here we have another of the structures of fat molecule, and I am going to do an explanation of this structure at this time. This is a simplified representation of the structure of a fatty acid polymer. Glycerol has 3 fatty acid chains attached to it. So this is a fatty acid polymer, and we can see 3 fatty acid chains attached. The first chain has a C, and you can see it moving on horizontally. The second chain has C with H. You can see it moving on horizontally. The third C also has C with H, and you can see it moving on horizontally also. So this chain can contain many different side chain also or the chain can contain different molecules and different attachments. Glycerol on the left side of the triglyceride molecule is made up of 3 hydroxy groups, that's OH, each of which consists of 1 hydrogen atom and 1 oxygen atom. There are many different types of fatty acids, represented here by the 3 horizontal chains. Represented here by 3 horizontal chains. A carboxylic acid consisting of a carbon atom double bonded to an oxygen atom and a hydroxide molecule is the building block of all fatty acids, oxygen and hydrogen. Long aliphatic chains of carbon atoms bonded with varying amounts of hydrogen at different sides or angles are the targets of the carboxylic acid covalent bonds. Saturated aliphatic chains can be joined using single bonds, while unsaturated aliphatic chains can use double or triple bonds. So here is shown another structure that we need to look at this time to help us to understand properly the fatty acid molecule and how it is composed. This is a fat polymer, a ball and stick model depicted as a ball and stick model. Now let's move to the types of fats. There is a wide range of molecular structure among fats or triglycerides. Saturated and unsaturated fats are distinguished by the degree to which the carbon atoms within their fatty acid chains are bonded together in single or double bonds, respectively. Polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats are 2 additional types of unsaturated fats. Now let's talk about the saturated fats. Saturated fats are made up of fatty acid chains where each carbon atom shares a single pair of electrons, making the chain more stable than if more than 1 electron pair were used to bond the atoms together. Whole milk, yogurt, cheese, butter, and ice cream are all examples of animal products that are high in saturated fat. Most of these fats are solid at room temperature. Saturated fatty acids such as palmitic acid are used in the biochemical process of palmitoylation to stabilize other biological processes in the human body, despite being widely regarded as the bad fat. They are also a component of cell membranes and they act as a cushion for organ tissues. When we talk about saturated fat, or explain saturated fat or explain what we mean by saturated to us here. When you go somewhere and you are asked to come around to eat, you tell the individual if you are filled that I am saturated. When you say you are saturated, what it means is that there is no space in your stomach to take additional food. So when you have no more space in your stomach to take more food, that is regarded as that you are saturated. But if you are unsaturated, that means you still have space in your stomach to take more food in. So in saturated fatty acid, there's no additional space for bonding. The only space that is available is for substitution. It cannot take additional compounds in. But in the case of unsaturated compounds, they have either double bond or triple bond, such that addition reaction is possible. So if the bond is triple and addition reaction takes place, the bond can become double or can become single. So that is that. Now, I want to talk about unsaturated fats. Double bonds between carbon atoms in fatty acid chains, in which the atoms share two electron pairs, are what make unsaturated fats what they are, while monosaturated fats only have one double bond in their chains. Polyunsaturated fats have several. At room temperature, unsaturated fats behave like liquids. These fats are a common way to get the essential fatty acids alpha-linolenic acid and linoleic acid in the diet, both of which the body needs but cannot produce on its own. But the body can make other lipids it needs by using essential fatty acids as building blocks. This is why unsaturated fats are generally regarded as good fats. Foods like eggs, fish, olive oil, poultry, avocados, and nuts are rich in unsaturated fats. Now, let's look at the functions of fats. It is common knowledge that eating a diet high in cholesterol and other fats can increase the risk of developing a disease, especially heart disease. However, there is a minimum amount of fat that our bodies require, and we can't produce these on our own. The scientific term for fats that our bodies can't produce on their own is essential fatty acids. And these acids, many functions include storing energy, providing insulation and protection, and protecting our internal organs. They serve as communication links, facilitating the work of proteins. As a result of the chemical reactions, they initiate growth, immune function, reproduction, and other aspects of basic metabolism are under control. Humans and other animals regulate their energy levels by constantly breaking down, storing, and mobilizing fats. Diseases like heart attack, heart disease, and diabetes can develop when there is a breakdown in any of these processes. For instance, high levels of triglycerides in the blood increases the risk of arterial plaque buildup, which can result in cardiac arrest or a stroke. Some fats actually aid the body in storing other nutrients. Vitamins A, vitamins D, vitamins E, and vitamins K are referred to as fat-soluble vitamins because they are stored in fatty tissues and the liver. Because fats are involved in so many physiological processes, scientists funded by the National Institutes of Health and other funding agencies study them in humans and other organisms to gain insight into both typical and abnormal biology of the fat. Quickly now, we'll move to the structure and functions of proteins. The structure and the functions of protein. Amino acid chains linked together to form proteins. Amino acid chains are linked together to form proteins. The amino acid building blocks of the hundreds of thousands of different proteins found in nature are all slightly different. The number of amino acids in a protein can range from the hundreds to the thousands. The structure of amino acids is relatively consistent. This is the general structure of an amino acid. You can see the HN, you have the NCCOH, and attached to the N is HH, attached to the first C is H, and an R group, and then an N group, and attached to the second C, which is double bonded with O, and then the H, which is a functional group. COOH is a functional group, and the NH and every other one. So this is the general structure of the amino acid. The functional group for most acids is COOH. In the diagram, R stands for different functional groups for each amino acid. In the case of the amino acid glycine, R is a single hydrogen atom. However, R can also be a more complex organic group, as shown in the figure below. A peptide bond is formed when two amino acids join together. This results in the release of two amino acid ends, shown in red, and the bonding of the carbon, called a carboxyl, end of one amino acid to the nitrogen. See the figure below. So we have the figure of a peptide bond. Peptide bond. So this is the amino acid with the peptide bond linking the different amino acid groups. What then are the functions of protein? Since after I've seen the structure of protein, now we have to look at the function of the protein. Whenever a large number of amino acids join together to form long chains, we refer to the resulting structure as a protein. It is also called a polypeptide because it contains many peptide bonds. There are two main functions for proteins in the human body. Number one is that most of the human body's solid tissue is made up of structural proteins. The structural proteins, keratin and collagen, for instance, make up the bulk of your hair, muscles, tendons, and skin. Second, the human body relies on functional proteins to help it accomplish its many tasks. An example of a functional protein is hemoglobin, which is found in red blood cells and aids in oxygen transportation throughout the body. Muscle contraction is facilitated by the protein myosin, which is found in muscle tissue. Insulin is a protein hormone that controls how much glucose the body stores. Polypeptides, belonging to the class of enzymes, are considered a subset of the functional proteins. Enzymes are proteins that facilitate biochemical reactions. For instance, the enzyme amylase can be found in both human saliva and the intestines, where it aids in the digestion of starch and subsequent release of glucose for energy. It is estimated that the human body contains over 100,000 distinct proteins, each of which is constructed from a unique set of 20 amino acids. Various proteins serve various functions in the body, each with its own unique structure. Protein-rich food such as meat, fish. Various protein serves various functions in the human body, each with its own unique structure. Protein-rich foods, meat, fish, beans, eggs, cheese, etc., are digested into their component amino acids after the polypeptides chains are cleaved apart in the digestive tract in a process known as protein synthesis. These amino acids are recombined to create proteins that are unique to each other. So we have looked at this series of topics at this time, the structures and the functions of proteins, the structure and functions of carbohydrates. We have looked at that. We have also looked at the structure and functions of fats, and we have also looked at the functions and the structures and functions of proteins. The next thing we are going to look at now is we are going to look at some food tests for carbohydrate, tests for proteins, and then test for fat. And then we are also going to touch on the photosynthesis and how to know if photosynthesis have occurred or not, and organ systems involved in digestion. Those are the next things we're going to look at in our next class. So I'm going to leave you now and go over the materials, and you are going to be glad you did. Until the next lecture, bye for now.